Or finish our cattle that we use in our retail store here at the farm. That's one thing that makes cattle production work on the East Coast, is the availability of high quality byproducts. Eventually we got to where we're at now, to where we're harvesting about 3,000 to 3,500 a year. We do genomic testing for tenderness and marbling. And then we also collect carcass data on all our animals. These bulls have all been selected for high marbling and yield grade as well.
Jesse sent a message saying that he won't be making videos anymore because you haven't subscribed to the Santa Fe channel. So subscribe now, and he will continue recording on farms around the world.
Welcome everybody. Today we are here in Roseda. It's a big farm that produces beef, and we're recording with Dim, and we will show you all the things in the farm. So welcome to your YouTube channel.
My name is Dean Bryant. I'm the farm manager for Roseda Farm. Roseda Farm is located in Moncton, Maryland. We are a purebred Angus operation, and our goal is to produce the highest quality eating experience that we can. We started back in 1996. Ed Burchell is the owner. At that time I was managing the Y plantation for the University of Maryland and doing carcass research. And he got involved in what we were doing at the University of Maryland, got very interested in it, and he wanted to do something similar with the farm he had in Moncton, Maryland. And so we got together and formed a quasi partnership and started breeding Angus cattle in 1996. As I said, our goal was to produce the best eating experience that we could, and so we started from scratch and found that what we wanted to do was start with Angus cattle because they had the best database to work with in terms of making our selections for breeding stock, and they are inherently higher marbling than most other beef breeds. So we started with Angus cattle, and then we looked at our production system and decided that what we wanted to do was do a young corn-fed beef, because younger cattle are more tender, and corn-fed beef tends to have more marbling that enhances the eating quality. We then looked at different production systems and decided that we would not use hormonal implants. Now mind you, this was back in '96 when hormone implants really weren't an issue with the consumers or anybody. And so we decided not to use hormonal implants because when we looked at the data, it did have a small but statistically significant effect on tenderness, and we didn't want to do anything that would compromise tenderness, so we chose not to use implants. And then we met with Morris Solomon at Beltsville at the USDA and visited with him a little bit about carcass quality and eating experience, and he's actually a meat scientist for USDA, and he recommended that we dry age the whole carcass for 14 to 21 days. And so that's what we do, is the whole carcass is dry aged, and because of that, when you taste Roseda beef, the burger is made from dry aged beef, so it tastes like a dry aged steak. A chuck roast tastes dry aged, and of course our steaks, premium steaks, come off a dry aged carcass as well. So those are the steps that we took to produce the best eating experience that we could at Roseda. Was corn-fed young Angus cattle that are dry aged and then harvested and then processed for the consumer. The first issue we had is that we couldn't produce enough beef, and so we chose to partner with other producers that would buy or lease bulls from us and then sell calves back to us. And so that grew so slowly over the years. We started with like 50 head the first year, 250 the second year, and just kept expanding. And eventually we got to where we're at now, to where we're harvesting about 3,000 to 3,500 a year, anywhere from 65 to 75 head a week. This is our corn silage trench here. We do feed corn silage on a regular basis. We buy the corn silage from a local producer that then brings it and delivers it to us and packs it, then helps us cover it.
Okay, it's very good. So, and what's the diet of the cows? Is corn silage and
corn silage and our fruit byproduct. So this is pretty unique for our operation. So this is a fruit byproduct that we get from the Del Monte plant here in Maryland. and mix it with our rations. It's equivalent to corn silage with a little more protein. It's a lot wetter. It runs probably about 20% dry matter, so there's a lot of moisture that goes with it. But it's cheap. It costs us about $50 a ton on a dry matter basis, and that's the cheapest feed that we have to work with. That's one thing that makes cattle production work on the East Coast, is the availability of high quality byproducts. This would be a fruit product. There's similar vegetable products, and then even bread products like bagels, old bread are used. Romaine noodles, waste from the Kellogg cereal plant are all used in local feedlots to help cheapen the ration cost. Well, right now there's 2 people that work full-time on the farm taking care of the cattle. That does not include me. And then we get some part-time people. Right now we have an intern from the University of Maryland that helps us out. And then a couple high school kids that come in and help out occasionally. But it's just 2 full-time people on the farm. It's really oriented towards 4 full-time people. So we're short on labor right now, trying to find some other people to hire. So this is where we feed or finish our cattle that we use in our retail store here at the farm. It's a complete mixed diet that includes the vegetable mix that we looked at. It has hay in it now. We haven't opened up our corn silage pit, but later on we'll replace the hay with corn silage, and obviously it's a high energy diet, so you'll see lots of corn in it. And these cattle, this is the pen that we're actually picking finished cattle out of right now for our farm store.
So why you choose this breed?
Angus?
Yeah.
Well, we chose Angus because they're inherently higher quality beef than a lot of the other breeds. And plus it's a large breed in the United States and has a big database with lots of genetic information, or EPDs, that help us select the best cattle for what we're trying to do.
Okay, and it's easy to buy or not?
It is.
Yeah,
you can buy semen, you can buy embryos. There's Angus sales. There's probably 5 or 6 Angus sales every day that you can go to somewhere in the country and buy cattle. The weather here, I would say, is moderate. We do have winter. It'll get down. The coldest it usually gets is maybe 0 for a day or 2. Most of the time it gets above freezing every day in the winter. Summertime we'll get 90s to 100-degree days, sometimes for a week at a time, but generally it's 90. It's about as high as it'll get. So it's moderate, but we do have extremes where the cattle have to be able to adapt to heat. And of course our heat here, because of our location of the Chesapeake Bay, it's a high humidity heat. And so our cattle are adapted to heat and humidity, and then they also have to be able to tolerate colder weather as well. We calve in January and February, and we do have a big stone barn that we use for that. And we put some gates in there, but that's mostly for convenience. We wouldn't have to calve inside, but we have this big barn, and so we use it for that, just for convenience. We got cameras set up, and it just makes it easier to check the cows. We typically don't have any calving issues, but we have them up close just in case. So this is our cattle handling facility. This is where we do everything to the cattle, from vaccinations to collect weaning weights on our scale. Then we do embryo transfer, artificial insemination, preg checks. As I said, anything that involves doing something to a cow, it's done in here. Our farm is laid out very efficiently to where one person on a 4-wheeler can bring any animal from any place of the farm through a series of gates and alleyways and put it right in our head gate to do whatever they need to do with it. A full-time veterinarian or anything. We have a veterinarian on call, but primarily what she does is our semen testing on the bulls, preg checking, just general herd health with the herd. She does come out for emergencies, but very rarely do we have that. We can pretty much handle everything that happens by ourselves here. Mortality rate would be highest probably on our newborn calves, and that's probably in the 3 to 5% range within birth through the first week or so. Some years it's 0, some years it might be 6 or 8%, but on average it's 3 to 5%. And then the death rate on the rest of the animals, it's less than 1%. Yeah.
And the mortality rate is higher in the winter or summer? Do you have that in mind?
It would be higher in the winter, primarily because we have more mud in the wintertime, and it's harder for cattle to get around the mud and creates more stress, and then wet, cold weather creates stress, particularly on young calves. So those cows that are calving in February and March, if those calves go out and then we have a cold, rainy spell or ice storm or something that comes through, and there's some of those young calves that get stressed, then they would be the ones that would be most susceptible to having some kind of a death loss. But we try to stay on top of that and get them moved in to where they're protected from the elements to give them a chance to recover. Okay, so one of my hobbies is purple martins, and they show up about the end of March or early April and then leave in August. They spend their winter in Brazil. My understanding is they just live in flocks in Brazil, but they migrate north to the United States just for breeding, and then as soon as they've raised their young, then they gather up their young and head back to Brazil in large flocks. And we get the same ones come back every year, and then there's a few new ones. And it's it's very interesting to us that they fly that far just to mate and then leave, because they only eat flying insects, and they leave when they're still a good food source for them if they wanted to stay longer. And then some birds that migrate do stay longer, but the purple martin's always the first ones to leave. So these are bulls that belong to our lease program. These are bulls that we'll lease out to other producers to use for 2 to 3 months. Then we bring them back, retest them. We do a semen test or breeding soundness exam on them twice a year, so before each breeding season. We do use them for spring breeding and fall breeding, and then bring them back here each time they get revaccinated and retested before they go out. Our selection program, because these are going out to commercial producers, a lot of our producers are part-time farmers. They don't have time to spend full-time with their cattle, and so they've got kind of some different requirements over what a full-time rancher might have. So the first thing they always ask me is calving ease. They want bulls or sire calves that are born easy and are vigorous after birth. So that's the first thing they want is calving ease, because they can't spend time with their cattle during calving. And then we buy them by the pound from these producers. They want calves that are going to grow fast, wean off heavy, so they get a nice check from us when we buy the calves from them at weaning. And then of course we have the calves, we put them in our feedlot cooperator herds, and we want them to grow fast post-weaning for us, so they perform well in the feedlots. And then of course we are looking for carcass quality, so these bulls have all been selected for high marbling and yield grade as well. Lately we've been able to even do some genetic testing for tenderness, which is obviously important to us from an eating quality standpoint. So our cattle are selected for calving ease, growth, marbling, and then the next thing is that our producers are selecting replacement heifers from these calves. So they got to have maternal traits to produce good replacement quality females. So it's not just a program based on carcass quality, it's all-around program for the full production system from start to finish.
What you did?
I just got a sample of our ration that was fed today.
Okay, and you sent to the lab?
No.
Make some analysis?
Oh, we do some of that. But actually, this is for a class tomorrow at the University of Maryland.
Okay.
They're having a nutrition class, and they're collecting samples of rations. And so I told them I would get a sample this morning while it was fresh, rather than tonight when they wanted to come to get it. So, because the problem with our ration with that fruit in it is the first thing the cattle do is pick the fruit out of it. They like that the best. And so the ration in the bunk changes over the course of the day based on what they've eaten. That's not ideal, but with our fruit, it's just a fact that we have to face up to, that there's big chunks of fruit in there that they can sort out and eat.
Okay, good.
But what we have here in this pen is some young bulls. They'll be a year old this fall, and these will be bulls that we'll select our replacement breeding bulls from, again based on calving ease, growth, carcass, and then maternal. The ones that don't make it will be castrated and then used in our feeding program for our retail store. and the balance of them will be used for our cooperator herd program and either sold or leased. We do sell bulls here, but the top end of our bulls tend to go to other purebred breeders, and then the middle to lower end will go then to commercial herds, mostly to produce calves for us. This is another group of young bulls. We actually have a herd in Virginia as well, and these would be the bull calves from our Virginia herd. In terms of implants in the cattle that we feed, we don't use implants, and it's not because of anything outside the fact that it has a small impact on tenderness. When you look at the research data, when implants were developed, they followed it through with carcass data and measured the tenderness, and it did have a small effect. It's probably not an effect that you could taste, but it is an effect that you can measure. And so we just opted not to do the implants, the hormonal implants, because of the effect it has on carcass quality. Since 1996, when we made that decision, it's become popular to do never ever and don't use implants. Implants are safe. Scientifically, there's no bad effects from hormones. Hormonal implants is such a small amount that it doesn't really affect the amount in beef. For a long time, you couldn't even measure the differences. Now they've got instruments that are sensitive enough they can pick up the differences between animals that are implanted with hormones and those that are not. However, intact heifers have a higher level of hormones than what even implanted steers do, and if you feed intact males, that just blows the implanted meat right out of the water as far as the amount of hormones in the beef. So it's mostly a marketing thing as far as not having implants, more so than what it is a safety or a practical thing. But it does add, an implant in the United States costs $1 or $2, and from that implant you'll get an additional 20 to 40 pounds of beef, depending on what research you look at, and for no extra feed. So it's very economical, or there's a big economic benefit to the producers that do use the implants that don't have a market for specialized beef. So this is a bull we call Matt Dillon. He's one of the top bulls we've produced here. Because we focus our genetics for close to 28 years for calving ease, growth, marbling, maternal, in our environment, what we're starting to find here in the last 5 years or so is that the best bulls that we can select and use out of the Angus breed are actually our own bulls. And so it started back several years ago with the bull we called Powerball. We do genomic testing on all our cattle, and we've got the genomic test back on him. He came out in the Angus breed as the bull that had the best combination of calving ease, growth, and marbling at the time. And so we used him quite a bit. We shipped semen around the country and some international semen from him. And then we got some good daughters that we had, and this bull Matt Dillon is actually out of a daughter of Powerball. There's another bull that we used quite heavily and sold to Accelerated Genetics. His name is Roseda Power Plant, and that semen is actually available in Brazil if you would like to use some of that. And then she's kind of far back there, but the cow that's here is K796. She's one of our top donor cows. We do quite a bit of embryo transfer. Most of what we do now is with in vitro fertilization, and so we're starting to get calves out of her. And she would have her first natural calf this year, but because of in vitro, we're able to get more calves out of her early on, and we do, like I say, a fair amount of that. We used to do traditional embryo transfer, but the value of in vitro fertilization is that we're able to use younger females and get a step on the generation interval by doing that. So most of our breeding here is artificial insemination and implanting embryos, and then we do follow up with cleanup bulls in the pasture. And actually Matt Dillon, since he's on site, is our natural cleanup bull, so it's nice having one of our top bulls that we can use for natural service as well. The mango pits are the only thing they won't eat out of that vegetable pile. They'll eat the mango and then spit out the pit. And you'll find them all over the farm. I think sometimes they do swallow the pit, but then when they ruminate, you'll see them bring up their cud and start chewing, and they'll start chewing real funny and then spit out a pit and then go ahead and finish up their cud and swallow it again. I've only seen that once, so I don't know how often it happens, but I have caught one doing that one time. The rest of the time you see it at the bunk, they'll be eating one at the bunk and then they'll spit it out. So this set of bull calves here, we mentioned in vitro fertilization. One thing we do is we'll take embryos and ship them to some of our cooperator herds, and they'll implant those embryos into their commercial cows, and then they'll raise those calves to weaning, and we buy them back as weaned calves. That just helps us to leverage our genetics and produce more calves, and particularly more bulls, than what we could produce on site here for our bull sale and lease program. So these were spring-born calves that were weaned probably 3 weeks ago, and they'll go out next spring as breeding bulls at some of our small herds. The lot back behind you guys are the heifer mates to them, so we get heifers and bulls from them. So with the cows on the hill here, it'd probably be a good time to talk about our pasture program. We've got about 250 acres of pasture on this farm, and about another 100 acres down the road where the owner lives. And then we lease probably another 150 to 200 acres of pasture, particularly for summer grazing and haymaking. We're able to produce all the hay that we need. We do buy corn silage from local producers. We buy our corn from local producers, but we do produce all the hay that we need. As far as the pastures, it's mostly cool season type, not mostly, it is cool season pastures, primarily tall fescue does the best in this environment with cattle pressure. We can use orchard grass on particularly some of our hay fields. That works quite well. We use legumes in our pasture. We've got a good stand of ladino or white clover in all of our pastures. We overseed every 2 to 3 years with red clover to add red clover to the pasture mix as well. And then in our wintering areas, we'll overseed with an annual ryegrass in the spring after we pull the cows off to get an annual crop of ryegrass that we can utilize until the next winter season, to where it becomes a sacrifice lot for hay feeding. We do rotational grazing. We try to move the cattle every 3 to 4 days or twice a week. We feel like that increases our pasture production or carrying capacity by about an additional 50%, just for the effort of moving cows from lot to lot. And we do use temporary electrified polywire to set up temporary lots to do that with, as well as some permanent divisions to work with as well. These are our fall calving cows. In the fall we do calve outside. It's temperate enough that we don't have to do too much with them as far as worried about chilled calves. We do check them every 4 to 6 hours. I use a spotlight to come out and check them at night. But as I've emphasized earlier, we breed for calving needs, so very rarely do we have to deal with any calving issues, spring or fall, either one. So this is where we get our corn. Our corn is delivered from local producers into the big bin, and then it goes through a roller mill into the small bin, and then from there into our TMR mix wagon that delivers it to the feed bunks.
Okay. Do you not use corn flake here?
No.
No? Okay.
No, you're talking about steam flake corn?
Okay.
Yeah, we're not big enough to justify the investment to do that. We dry roll it and feed it whole. When you look at the research data on corn, steam flake processing is really the only one that adds anything nutritionally to the corn. The rest of it might affect maybe digestibility and flow and that kind of thing, but it's particularly from a beef cattle standpoint, whole corn or dry rolled is pretty effective. Sometimes fine ground corn can actually cause problems, digestive issues with the cattle. Kind of pre-process the hay. Our TMR mix wagon can process whole bales at a time, and so we'll pre-process those and pile them here to where we can mix them on a batch by batch basis without having to wait on the the bales when we're feeding. And then back here we have our dried distiller's grain, which is also a byproduct of the ethanol industry. The ethanol industry is so big that it's pretty much a commodity. We can actually call up different commodity brokers and get bids on it, and then have a semi-load delivered based on the low price of the bid.
They feed once a day in the morning. And how is the normal, like the daily operation? Like you feed the cows in the morning, and then what else you have through all the days, like normally in a basic day, like?
Well, for the crew, I mean, they'll start out feeding, and it's the young cattle, the feedlot cattle, and the young cattle that get fed first, and then the rest of the day they'll spend putting out hay for the mature cows, taking fruit out to the mature cows, and then cleaning up various concrete feed pads, clipping pastures. Generally when we move cattle from pasture to pasture, we'll go in and clip or bush hog behind the cows to mow down anything they didn't eat, because usually it's just weeds, to help keep our weeds under control. Because we do use legumes and grasses in our pastures, we can't use any chemicals, because chemicals all tend to kill one or the other. And so our weed control is mechanical or mowing to keep the weeds down. And that seems to work pretty well. If you mow what the cows don't eat, generally those weeds can't handle regular mowing.
When you start using that product, the food waste product, when you started using
We've been using some kind of a food waste product for quite a while. We went through a stage where we used a lot of brewer's grain, which would be a barley product from some of the local breweries. And then as that got too expensive because we couldn't compete with the dairy farmers to buy it, then we moved on to a vegetable product, which came actually from the same company as this fruit product, but it was more lettuce, cabbage, peppers, and then some different kind of fruits like apple waste, and that's a product that had some citrus in it as well. This fruit product here seems to be more watermelons, cantaloupes, mangoes, and there's other fruits that'll show up in it. There's lots of pineapples. So that's the fruit waste that we feed. But we've always tried to find economical source of byproducts to feed, and we're big enough that we can take truckloads of it, so they kind of seek us out as well to bring products to us.
And how much do you pay for each feed, for example, for corn silage, for everything? Do you know the prices?
I do. This year we bought our corn silage for $50 a ton, delivered and packed in our pit. So on a dry matter basis, that makes it $150 a ton on a dry basis. Our fruit, we're paying $10 a ton on that delivered and as fed. And as I mentioned earlier, it's about 20% dry matter. And so that works out to $50 a ton on a dry basis. So it's our fruit is about a third the cost of our corn silage. The corn, right now we're paying like $4.50 a bushel for it, and I can't do the math in my head to figure out what that is per ton. But it's, as far as the energy source, I mean, it's a fairly economical energy source now. When it was $8 a ton, it wasn't, but at $4.50 a ton, it's doable. Then the hay, we raise our own hay, so that's hard to figure. I think if we had to buy the hay, it would be somewhere around $150 a ton for the quality of hay that we feed.
How many diets do they mix?
Just two. We've got the finishing diet and then the growing diet.
Okay.
Now they will put just fruit in it and take out some of the cows.
Oh, okay.
Because the older cattle can get by with just the fruit product by itself. We've got a load of fruit coming through here. Here we get a load a day, 6 loads a week. So.
Oh.
There's one day, I think it's Sunday, they don't bring a load.
Oh. Have you thought to push that feed waste that is there already and then put on top after, or this is going to be a lot of
No, they'll dump it beside.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll finish up that load and then start this, and then tomorrow they'll dump on this side.
Okay.
So it's side to side. Sometimes we don't get it cleaned out every day completely, but by sometime in the week we get it cleaned out. And
Okay.
so you can see how wet it is. And one of the problems feeding it is that the dry matter of it actually changes every day because of what drains off overnight. If you feed it today right after it's dumped versus what you feed tomorrow after they...
It's going to be very wet today compared to tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be a little drier tomorrow, and if it sets for another day, it'll be even drier the next day. And
yeah, that's a good point.
so we'll just shoot for a happy average. Okay, so I wanted to show off some steaks here. We got these out of the freezer, but this is produced by Roseda Bull, and on the prime steaks, my wife and I, Marcia, we taste test these. What we're looking for is the very elite marbling and tenderness, and this is one of the highest marbling animals we've produced, and also, if it's not the most, it's one of the most tender animals that we've produced. And like I said earlier, we do genomic testing for tenderness and marbling, and then we also collect carcass data on all our animals and send back to the Angus Association to update our EPDs and also help train the genomic database to better identify our high marbling animals. So this is high prime, might be in very high prime, and extremely tender. Okay, this is a picanha. We call it a culotte, and this is off the same animal. So you can see all the extra marbling that goes along with it, and it's got the fat cap on it, the way we like to cook it. It's off the same animal, so it's going to be extremely tender and highly marbled.
Yeah, so here we have the cuts, and then what is about Roseda's farm is more that people come here not just to buy meat, they come here and then they learn what is the best cut to use for specific things, for a barbecue, or something's basic on their goal, what they want to eat. So Marcia and Dean, they pretty much educate all the customers on which piece is the best, and then there is a lot of friendship, as I saw here already. People comes because they want to see Marcia and talk with her and buy the meat. That is very special. So I drive about an hour to buy my meat, and then I buy my meat here.
What part do you prefer?
I like the ribeye myself. That's just what I'm traditionally used to, and then I like the porterhouse and T-bone as well, but the loin cuts.
And how do you prepare?
Usually just on the grill. Just put the grill on high and sear it on both sides and turn the grill down and finish it up to the temperature we want.
Just salt?
I use a seasoning salt, so it's got salt, I think some paprika and pepper, a little bit in it, but it's a seasoning salt.
And do you eat with potatoes, for rice?
Usually like a baked potato. In the summertime, it might be an ear of corn and some green beans or something more of the fresh local vegetables, and then in the wintertime it's more of a steak and baked potato, maybe some canned green beans or something.
Good.
So it's just,
Yeah, they also have hot dogs that they make. Has a very different taste of the conventional ones, the normal ones that you can buy in the supermarket. It's very good.
Let me hear it.
so the hot dogs are made at it's not made at our plant, but it uses our beef, and we utilize our cull bulls in the hot dogs. About 50% of the hot dog is from our cull bulls that we don't need for breeding anymore, and then the rest of it is our 50-50 trim from our packing plant. It makes a really unique hot dog. Some people say it's the best they've ever had, and we actually made, there's one of the national surveys, we actually made the top 10 for hot dogs. I think we were 5th or 6th or something, but for a small company to get on a national list, I was impressed anyway. So.
Very good.
Can you see the difference in marbling there?
Yeah.
Okay. So at Roseda Farm, we have 100% utilization of our carcass, regardless of how it marbles or grades. This would be some of the grades. This particular Delmonico would be at the low choice, kind of down towards the select grade. We don't get very many selects. We probably get 2 or 3% of the cattle will be select. Generally somewhere around 50% will be prime, which I showed you earlier. This other New York strip then would be kind of on the upper end of choice, maybe choice average or choice plus. It would be CAB type grade. But what we found with our Roseda product is that since we have such much control over the genetics and the feeding of the cattle, that the quality grade doesn't make as much difference. Animals that are young and have been long fed on a high finishing, high corn diet have a lot of consistency as far as their eating quality and tenderness, regardless of what the marbling is. There's no question that this steak here would have a little bit different eating experience than the lower grade one, or the one with less marbling. And the one we looked at that was the high prime would eat different than both of these. But they're really very close in terms of eating quality, and sometimes once they come off the grill and you can't see the marbling, it's really hard to tell the difference between which one it might have been. So while we focus on marbling and we breed to produce higher marbling, more tender cattle, the grades are utilized in all our products. And like I said, we have 100% utilization from the cattle that go into the feedlot to the cattle that end up in the stores and the restaurants and even the retail store here.
Which one is your favorite?
If I was going to pick one, I'd pick the prime.
The prime.
Yeah, it's just.
Favorite is this.
No, I would
This
take
one.
the prime.
This one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the extra juiciness that comes with the prime.
Yeah, looking this one here, this takes more my attention just because of the color. I think is the mind being
Yeah,
difference.
there are some color differences too, but I'm looking at the marbling differences, the flecks of fat that are different.
Yeah, this looks pretty good. I think I'm gonna bring one for me. Something that is very interesting here in the US is the price of the oxtail. So the oxtail here is $12 a pound, and then the picanha, which is the culotte, is $12.50. In Brazil, when we think, picanha is one of the most expensive cuts, and here it's not. So hopefully the customers doesn't learn about that, and then the price doesn't increase too much.
I'm Marcia Bryant. I'm the manager of the Roseda Farm store. We roughly sell $30,000 to $40,000 a week here in this little farm store. Our top seller is filet. The people love all the filet steaks. So we sell fresh and frozen meat. We sell ice cream. We also help other local farms sell their products. So we sell lamb from Green's Lamb in Whitehall. We sell eggs from Albright Farms. We sell a little bit of pork from Albright Farms. And yes, that's the extra meat that we sell here to help other local farmers. The ice cream is from Key's Creamery. It's a big dairy farm over in Aberdeen area, and it's some of the best ice cream you can get in this area.
Thank you very much.
We do lunch every Friday and Saturday from 11 to 3. I started doing that. We go April through November, and with doing that, it helps people come in the store. So they come for lunch and they enjoy their eating experience, and then they want to come in the store and buy it and take it home. So that's the whole reason we started doing lunches. And then we do what we call a beef and beer night once a month on a Friday night from 5 to 8. We've got one this coming Friday, September 27th. We have a local brewery come and serve draft beer. We have a singer come and sing some music. We've got, this time, the local FFA is sponsoring this event, and we are going to have pony rides, hay rides, face painting, pumpkin painting, tic-tac-toe, all kinds of things for young families, young kids to enjoy the farm. And so that also brings in a lot of income for Roseda.
How many people?
We could have close to 750 to 800 people here this Friday night. Depending on the weather, hopefully it doesn't rain. I mean, even though if it does rain, it's all inside our big stone barn, our calving barn, so it won't stop us from having it. Just people decide not to come if it rains.